No one in your class is smarter than you. They're just starting sooner, and today that changes. Part 1. Inner Beliefs. If you watch most productivity content on YouTube, you think procrastination is caused by laziness, boredom, or lack of discipline. But that's not the real problem. Procrastination is caused by 3 psychological conflicts: a lack of wisdom, a lack of willpower, and a lack of confidence. And once you understand these 3, procrastination stops feeling like a personality flaw and it starts feeling like a solvable problem. Before we fix procrastination, we have to diagnose what your inner voice is actually fighting. Section 1. Laziness versus wisdom. Laziness is choosing one reward over another. It's choosing instant gratification over delayed gratification. It's not inactivity like most people think, it's unwise activity. It's like hitting the snooze button even though you're already late. You know what the right move is, but comfort wins. Imagine 2 versions of yourself sitting at the same desk. One version opens the assignment and starts. The other hesitates and reaches for their phone. Both versions feels the same resistance. The only difference is which version you reinforce through action. It's choosing a smaller, immediate reward over a larger, delayed one. Because the dopamine you can get now feels more certain than the fulfillment later. So laziness isn't your brain refusing to work. It's your brain making an unwise investment. It's choosing comfort over growth. Certainty over possibility. Now over later. Section 2. The root of laziness is short-term thinking. Laziness lives in the present moment. It asks one question: what feels great right now? Wisdom asks a different question: what will matter later? Laziness protects the present version of you. Wisdom builds the future version of you. You've probably heard of the marshmallow experiment. Kids were given a choice: 1 marshmallow now or 2 if they waited. The difference wasn't discipline. It was the ability to see the future clearly enough to act in the present. Those who could mentally prioritize their future behaved differently. Not because they had more energy, but because they had more vision. Section 3. Wisdom changes how you see reward. Wisdom doesn't remove effort. It changes how the effort feels. When you have wisdom, effort feels meaningful, because wisdom sees what laziness cannot. Wisdom understands that every action compounds. Every repetition strengthens identity. Every moment of discipline reshapes who you become. Section 4. Laziness is a perception problem, not an energy problem. Most people aren't lazy because they're tired. They're lazy because they don't fully see the value of their actions. If someone offered you $10 million to finish your task today, you wouldn't feel lazy. Your energy would appear instantly because your brain sees the reward clearly. In school, it's hard to see the reward of studying. Wisdom creates that clarity without needing external incentive. Wisdom allows you to see the invisible rewards that are growth, confidence, freedom, and future opportunity. When you can see it, you can act on it. Because deep down, you already know that the more you invest in yourself, the more your future expands. Section 5. Wisdom replaces dopamine with purpose. Instant gratification is loud. It's immediate. It's easy. It's predictable. Delayed gratification is quiet. It requires patience, faith, and vision. You don't defeat laziness with force. You defeat it with understanding. When you truly understand what your actions create, you stop needing motivation. Because now your actions have meaning. Wisdom reminds you, every distraction costs you something. Every delay shapes your identity. Every choice is a vote for the person you become. And once you see that clearly, laziness stops feeling harmless. It starts feeling expensive. Wisdom doesn't force you to act. It makes you want to act. Albert Einstein understood this when no one else did. After graduating, he couldn't get a job as a professor. He worked at a patent office, reviewing other people's inventions. He wasn't recognized, he wasn't rewarded. But in his free time, he studied physics, not because he was forced to, but because he understood the long-term value of understanding reality at a deeper level. In 1905, while still working at the patent office, he published 4 scientific papers. This work later earned him the Nobel Prize in Physics, and permanently changed how we understand space and time. When he was doing the work, there was no guarantee of success, only effort. Wisdom allowed him to see the value long before the reward existed. Because once you can see the future value of your actions, energy flows automatically. Actions stop feeling forced. It becomes inevitable. If you take one thing from this section, I want you to replace your speech with "I'm so lazy" with "if I start now, I'll see the rewards later." And this is where something interesting happens. Statistically, in almost every video ever made, this is the exact point where most people start to leave. Not because the video got worse, but because their brain starts craving stimulation. This is your first real test. Not of ability, but of control. Because boredom is the moment most people unconsciously trade their future for relief. So now you have a choice. You can click off this video like your brain expects you to, or you can stay and prove you're no longer controlled by it. Part 2. Boredom versus willpower. Section 1. What is boredom really? Psychologists define boredom as the discomfort we feel when we want to engage in something meaningful but can't. It's a restless state. Your brain is understimulated but craving stimulation. And here's the key. Your brain hates boredom. From an evolutionary standpoint, boredom pushes us to seek novelty, new environments, new information, new rewards. In today's world, that novelty is one tap away. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and notifications. In one study, people sat alone in a room with nothing to do. Many chose to give themselves electric shocks rather than sit in boredom. That's how badly your brain wants stimulation. Your brain doesn't tolerate boredom. It escapes it. Section 2. The Boredom-Procrastination loop. Let's break down the loop. You start a task. It feels difficult or slow. You experience boredom. Your brain seeks relief. You switch to something easy and more stimulating. You feel the temporary pleasure. You feel guilty. The task becomes even more unpleasant. Next time you try, boredom hits faster. This is how procrastination trains your brain. It's not that you can't do the work, it's that your brain has learned boredom equals escape. Every time you escape a boring task, your brain rewards the escape. And over time, escape stops being a choice. It becomes automatic. Section 3. Enter willpower. Now let's talk about willpower. Willpower functions like a muscle. It can get tired, but it can also grow stronger with use. Willpower is the ability to act despite discomfort, and boredom is discomfort. So when we resist the urge to escape a boring task, you are literally training your willpower. Think of boredom as a weight. It gets tired in the short term, but stronger every time you use it. Section 4. Why boredom is actually a superpower. Here's the twist. Boredom isn't the enemy. In fact, research shows boredom can boost creativity. When your brain isn't overstimulated, it starts making new connections. Some of the best ideas come when you're walking, showering, or staring out the window. But constant digital stimulation has reduced our tolerance for boredom. We don't let our minds wander anymore. Instead of facing boredom, we anesthetize it. And in doing so, we weaken our willpower. Studies show boredom activates the part of your brain responsible for imagination and creativity. When stimulation disappears, your brain starts building instead of consuming. You have to realize your task is going to get boring. And that's exactly where the results start. Section 5. How to use willpower to beat boredom. So how do we break the cycle? Expect boredom. Don't be surprised by it. When starting a task, tell yourself, this will get boring, that's normal. When boredom shows up, it won't feel like a sign to quit, it'll just feel like a phase to push through. Here's what most people get wrong. High performers don't experience less boredom. They've just trained themselves to not obey it. When boredom hits, they interpret it as, this is work, not, this means I should stop. The difference between chronic procrastinators and high performers isn't motivation, it's boredom tolerance. Individuals with higher self-control are better at tolerating boring tasks. They don't experience less boredom, they simply persist despite it. And if you're still here right now, just know you proved something. You didn't obey the impulse to escape, you stayed, which means you already have more control than most people ever develop. Because discipline isn't built when things feel easy, it's built in moments like this. And what you do next will decide whether that control becomes permanent. Part 3. Fear versus confidence. What fear actually is. Fear feels real. Your heart speeds up. Your chest tightens. Your brain starts screaming, do this later. But here's the truth. Fear is only a prediction of a future moment that hasn't happened yet. Your brain is running a simulation. Think about a dream. When you're dreaming, everything feels real until you wake up. Then you realize it was never full reality. Fear works the same way. You're not reacting to reality, you're reacting to a mental movie created by doubt. And just like dreams, fear exaggerates, skips details, assumes the worst, and feels convincing until you question it. Fear is imaginary, but procrastination is the behavior that follows when you believe it. Research shows the amygdala, the brain's fear center, activates not only when facing real danger, but also when imagining future negative events. Your brain reacts to imagined danger almost like real danger. Section 2. Why fear creates procrastination. Procrastination isn't you avoiding work. It's you avoiding a feeling. Fear says, what if I mess this up? What if I start and realize I'm not capable? What if it takes too long and I fail anyways? So your brain does what it's designed to do. Protect you from discomfort. And the easiest way to avoid this discomfort? Delay, scroll, eat, clean your room, or even watch another video about productivity instead of actually being productive. Procrastination isn't a discipline problem, it's a belief problem. One study shows avoidance prevents the brain from learning safety. This maintains fear long term. This is why procrastination makes fear worse. Avoidance reinforces the belief that the task is dangerous. Section 3. Confidence isn't the opposite of fear. Here's the mistake most people make. They think confident people don't feel fear. Wrong. Confidence is simply acting without needing certainty. Confidence says, I'll figure this out as I go. Even if this goes wrong, I'll survive. Doing something badly is better to doing nothing perfectly. Confidence doesn't wait for motivation. Confidence creates motivation through action. Confidence, combined with self-belief, is what creates internal drive. Self-belief says, I trust myself. Confidence says, I'm starting anyways. You only need enough belief to take the first step. Because confidence isn't knowing the outcome in advance. It's trusting your ability to respond to whatever happens next. And every time you act, you give your brain new evidence. Evidence that you can handle uncertainty. Evidence that the fear was only a prediction. Evidence that you are more capable than the fear suggested. And that's how confidence is built. Psychologist Albert Bandura's research shows self-efficacy, the belief in your actions to handle situations, is one of the strongest predictors of action. People with high self-efficacy start tasks sooner, persist longer, and experience less avoidance, even when ability is equal. Confidence drives action, not the absence of fear. Research also shows confidence grows through successful action experiences, not passive thinking. Bandura called this mastery experience. Each action provides evidence of capability. Confidence is built from evidence, not motivation. Section 4. Fear versus confidence, the real difference. Fear asks, what if this doesn't work? Confidence asks, what happens if I don't try? Fear lives entirely in the future. Confidence lives in the present. Fear needs guarantees. Confidence only needs movement. And the crazy part, the moment you start, fear weakens. Not because the tasks change, but because you stop feeding the imaginary future and return to reality. How to break procrastination today. Here's what actually works. Call fear what it is. It's not danger. It's not the truth. It's just a prediction. Next, shrink the action. You don't need to finish. You just need to begin. Finally, move before you feel ready. Readiness comes after movement, not before. Confidence is built by evidence. Evidence comes from action. And action only requires one small step right now. Now, when you struggle starting, I want you to remember to say, my fear of not understanding what I'm doing is just a prediction, and I know I'll figure it out. Part 4. Execution. Turning understanding into action. At this point, you understand something most people never realize. You were never lazy, you were never broken, and you were never incapable. Your brain has been doing exactly what you have trained it to do. It was choosing smaller future rewards because the future didn't feel real. It was escaping boredom because it was trained to seek stimulation. It was avoiding action because it predicted failure before you even began. And now something has changed. You can see it. And once you can see it, you can change it. Because procrastination is not a permanent condition. It's a learned pattern. And learned patterns can be retrained, not through motivation, but through action. In the famous quote from Heraclius, out of every 100 men, 10 shouldn't be there, 80 are just targets, 9 are real fighters. We are lucky to have them, for they make the battle, but one is a warrior, and he will bring the others back. Pressure doesn't stop most people, it reveals them. Because when the stress rises, when the resistance gets louder, when the continuing stops feeling easy, most people leave. Not because they can't continue, but because they choose relief over growth. Only a few stay. This is proven by science. In multiple studies, participants reported feeling mentally exhausted, but their actual performance barely declined. They didn't stop because they were incapable. They stopped because their brain increased the perception of effort. Their mental capacity was still there. It had never left. Their brain just stopped allocating it. Your brain is designed to conceive energy, not maximize your potential, which means when you feel mentally done, there's actually a real chance you're nowhere near your actual limit. You're just at the point where your brain is trying to protect you. And most people obey that signal. The ones that don't change their life. This is Jerry Seinfeld and the power of starting before you're ready. Jerry Seinfeld wasn't always confident. He wasn't always successful. He wasn't always the best comedian in the room. In fact, when he first started stand-up, he was terrible. His jokes didn't land, the audience didn't laugh, sometimes they barely reacted at all. Imagine standing alone on stage, under bright lights, in front of strangers, and hearing silence. Most people would take that as a sign to stop. Most people would go home and tell themselves, maybe this just isn't for me. But Jerry didn't stop. He made one simple decision. Every single day, he would write new jokes. Not when he felt inspired, not when he felt motivated, every day. He bought a calendar and hung it on his wall. And every day he wrote jokes, he put an X over that day. 1 day became 2, 2 became 3, 3 became 10. Eventually he had a chain, and his goal became simple. Don't break the chain. There were days he didn't feel like writing. There were days he doubted himself. There were days nothing good came out. But every day, he still showed up. Because he understood something most people don't. Success isn't built on the days you feel motivated, it's built on the times you execute anyways. Those small executions turned into years. Those years turned into mastery. And that mastery turned into Seinfeld, one of the most successful shows in history. Not because he was the most talented when he started, but because he started and kept going. You don't need to feel ready, you don't need to feel confident, you don't need to feel motivated. You just need to start. Because execution creates confidence, execution creates skill, execution creates momentum. Every day you wait, nothing changes. But every day you execute, you build proof. Proof that you're becoming someone different. The gap between who you are and who you want to be isn't closed by thinking. It's closed by starting. Today, not tomorrow, today. When this ends, start.